Phones are blowing up. Everything's blowing up.
I think we're live. Brian, cue that intro music. Nah.
It's just gonna come through my earphone. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ukulele I can play for you.
Ukulele, eh? Awesome. Welcome to another Wednesday night edition of Open Shutter. We are missing one member of the boy band, Selorm, but we have gained another in his absence, Justin from Ottawa, and it's going to be a different kind of show, I think. But the reason why I brought Justin on is to basically talk about how to achieve your goals in life and in photography. I think it's really important to kind of like have a process when it comes to achieving whatever you want to achieve, also in photography. And quick little side note is that I met Justin at Cody Warner's meetup back in February, and that's where I also met Brian and Andre, who were also on the show with us a few weeks ago. So again, that's like the power of meetups, and it's gonna be a fun show. I'll do a quick roundtable, starting with Evans. We do a little 30-second elevator pitch, and then we can just kind of dive in to the show.
Yes. Hey, for our regular users, viewers, you guys know me. My name is Evans, based in Brampton, Ontario. I do portraits, streets, everything for fun. But primarily, I'm a wedding photographer. As we all say on this show, it's a family show. It's a community we built together. We all come together to learn and improve and help each other grow in our crafts in one way or the other. So welcome to Open Shutters for today, Wednesday.
Yeah. Wednesday. Days are flying, man. I don't know about you. Yep. Go ahead, Brian.
I'm Brian James. I'm sure you know me. My name's right here. Go ahead and give me a follow. My YouTube channel is 148 subscribers away from being monetized. Please help me out.
Yes, please help Brian.
I was unaware that this was a family show because sometimes I say the word and sometimes I say the word.
Well, I don't mean family as in kids friendly. I mean family as in we're a family.
Community.
Community. Yeah.
What do I photograph? I photograph everything. As of 2 days ago, I became a drone instructor. Evans had his first flight with no crashes, so that was cool.
Nice.
Calling it the first
flight. Yeah.
Happy to have Justin on the show today. And thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Justin. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Paul, and in Toronto, currently run Photo Meetup, Get Out Shoot Toronto, and check us out for everything that's happening, getoutshoot.com. And I shoot all kinds of stuff. So Instagram is pgooch, and I think I put my YouTube handle in my StreamYard link, so go check it out. And we're just going to dive in because I think there's a lot to talk about. Like I said at the start, I think, I take the example of being on Instagram and you see people's photos and they're amazing, and you think to yourself, how do I achieve that photo? And I don't think a lot of people talk about the process behind how to achieve great photos. And I think that stems from having a process, having a checklist, having some sort of discipline that gets you to the point of where you want to be. And Justin, I'm not sure how you want to intro yourself. You want to say you're a teacher, a life coach, a mentor, but I'll kind of let you kind of do a quick intro and then we can just dive into it.
Sure, yeah. I'm Justin, aka Just Tries across all socials. So whether it's YouTube or Instagram, you can follow those. And kind of the underlying thing for everything that I do is photo and video. But what I do through social media and coaching people as well as a teacher is I just support people with goal setting through the process of how do you learn most efficiently. So I just want to say, first off, thanks for having me. And Paul, you hit the nail on the head with having a process to learning is what's so valuable, right? I think on social media, we so often show the curated, polished versions of things. And what we don't get to see necessarily is that BTS sort of behind the scenes of how people got there. And I heard a really good reference the other day from someone who was talking about building a social media business. He was saying people want to do it in 4 weeks. Photography is no different. They want to do it with their first photo, but they expect something like college to take them, 4 or 5 years to become, let's say, a teacher, like in my case. I think, committing that time is the most important thing.
Yeah, 100%. Because, I think there's a lot of distractions on social media. I think it's very easy to get distracted. I'm not sure how Brian Evans kind of handles social media, but I mean, how would you give advice to people that are just starting into photography, like in terms of like blocking out the noise? Like, do you have a process yourself, Justin, where you kind of like block everything out, like, or is it just kind of more of kind of like by nature that you kind of know what to do?
Well, I think that comes down to another thing. The idea of having habits and systems is way more important than just kind of rolling with it or praying that things will work out in terms of your success or building any skills. So for me personally, and I'd be curious what the others do, but I like to block periods of time. So people see a lot of social media content and they probably think I'm on my phone all day, but I'm not. I try and do, 40 minutes in the morning and then maybe an hour in the evening to create for social specifically and to DM and comment and that kind of thing. And then in the other time, trying to focus on, like Seth Godin says, doing the things that are important and valuable, not the things that feel urgent.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a fine line there, right? I mean, that's interesting. I know people like schedule posts, like people schedule their content. So everything's kind of like scheduled for the day or for the week and they don't have to touch their phone at all, really. But then you gotta be like really like super organized too, right? With regards to like your content,
Yeah, that's the way that I see it.
If social media can very quickly take over your life, so what I try to do is when I post Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If I post a different day, it's just because I got something inside me that needs to let something out. But so I try to be active for like the first hour. But at this point it's getting more difficult, but I do try to get back to everybody with, I get questions about lenses and questions about how do I do this and how did you create that photo and can you help me? And I want to get back to those people, but I'm going to have to start like getting to a point where it's like, okay, so this hour a day or my last hour before bed, then I can get on there and help people out, because I find myself engaged in a lot of conversations, going back and forth. It just takes too much time. So
for me personally, I still need to work on my social media stuff, right? Especially when it comes to Instagram and trying to keep to a schedule and posting regularly and stuff like that. I haven't been really paying much attention. I post when I can. So there are times where I've gone about maybe a week or two without posting anything, and then there are times where in that week I can post 5 times, maybe once every day. But I'm still trying to keep up. It's just because there's a lot going on for me personally, because I do my full-time work and then photography is my part-time sometimes. And sometimes it becomes a challenge trying to balance that and family life and all that stuff together. So I try to post, but I still, like I said, I need to get to the point where I can post regularly on a schedule or something of that sort. But I'm trying to learn to get to that point.
I have no schedule. I just post whenever I have something. So, hey Brian,
it is important to be consistent for sure. Like I told you guys, like I just had a marketing agency look at my profile, and that was one of the things is they said if I can't post every day, then to be consistent. And I feel like I have been pretty consistent, but there are times when you miss. So what I would say is if like Evans, for example, you have a whole bunch of content, just instead of posting 5 times in a week, then just commit to twice a week. If it's every Monday, Wednesday, whatever it happens to be. But then you save those posts. When I'm on if I'm on the train or something like that, I'll just go through and just get all my hashtags ready, and I save them in my little folders on my phone. And then, so when it's post time, it's just click, hashtags are ready, and then done. And that way it doesn't, I don't use a scheduling software. I did for a time, but I'm a little bit skeptical now. I don't know, Justin, if you do or not, but because I don't like giving my password to third-party people, and Instagram doesn't like it either, I don't think so.
Yeah, I can speak to that. It's funny, a lot of people say that shadow bans on Instagram don't really exist, and there's a sort of argument like, well, maybe your content's just crap. It's interesting. I used to use Hootsuite and a couple other scheduling softwares, and I it was kind of one of the things that I do to a fault a lot of times is I try and make things efficient, and maybe I go too far in terms of habits and systems sometimes. So what I had done was I was like, okay, this is gonna be way easier if I can like post every Sunday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. and I don't have to do anything for 14 days. days kind of strategy was my idea. And it worked a little bit in terms of it not being as difficult on me throughout the week. But what I didn't like was that sometimes it's out of context, right? So, and what also happened was when it came to Instagram, exactly what you said, it was pretty clear that Facebook or Instagram didn't like it, because I got an email from Instagram saying that I had to make sure that I was only using Instagram to post. And I thought that was interesting. And so I just said, okay. So I deleted everything. And at the time, engagement and everything like that went from like, every time I post a story, hundreds of people seeing it to very few seeing it right at the same time I got that weird email. So it was an interesting thing. So I went back to just doing it natively on all the platforms. The only thing I do schedule is Twitter, and I'll only schedule like original thoughts, stream of consciousness things that if not sure if you're familiar with Naval, but he does like tweet storms. He'll tweet like 100 times in a row and then not tweet for a long time. And it's pretty cool. But so if I have a few, because it's so micro, then I'll schedule those to come out the same day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a similar message a couple times, and then I was liking too many things, and yeah, my engagement dropped huge. Even the likes on my photos, like nobody sees. My engagement used to be around 10,000 viewers per post, and I would get maybe 10 to 15% engagement. Now, I just had posts recently that I really liked. I don't know if you guys saw the one with the car that I did. That I photoshopped on my phone in the middle of the street. I was really proud of that, and I thought that came out really well. And I think it made it to 1,700 people.
Nice.
1,700 people. Yeah, but I mean, not the likes. I'm talking. That's the people that saw it across their screen. 10 times below what it used to be.
That's TikTok's fault.
Yeah. There's reels now. There's real. Brian.
My reels have been doing pretty well. I've been gaining followers from that.
So there's something else now to do. You got to do a reel now, right?
But now I think it's becoming really saturated really quick, because all the TikTokers are jumping over here and then doing the reels. And I'm not a professional reel artist, and I don't plan on being one either. So
never say never, man. You gotta do these days. Yeah, there's reels now. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Justin, what's your favorite form of content? Is it posting on Instagram? Is it posting on Twitter? Like, what's your favorite form of engagement?
Yeah, you know what? I'm really appreciative of each of the platforms. A little backstory is that I never really used social media until a couple of years ago. I was with some students, and we were trying to document a project they were working on, and they got me into Instagram. That's literally, I would say, just under 2 years ago. So before that, I really was the type that was like, I didn't understand it. I didn't appreciate it. I didn't get it. I was like, it's just for people that want to post this is what I ate today. I was like, who cares? I was in that boat. I didn't understand the benefits. So if I had to pick a favorite, it would definitely be making YouTube videos, long form, like medium form, edited music, color correction, everything like that, and some transitions. But if I chose just the micro social media stuff, I think it's honestly comments and DMs, and it doesn't matter the platform. Just the real human conversations for sure is what I appreciate, and that can happen essentially on all of them now.
Good, 100%, yeah. I know it's like my fear is just being like burnt out, right? Like all this stuff, all this content that we're talking about, all the different platforms. It's like you watch some other people on social media. It's like they just go away for a period of time, or they just quit altogether, right? So I guess that's my getting burnt out. But I mean, I don't know. I feel good now. Like it's not a problem for me. But in terms of people trying to achieve what they want to achieve, you really got to work hard, right? So where's that balance between working hard and not burning out? Like, is there advice that you kind of give people?
Well, there's a good, I say good, that's not the right word. It just rolled off the tip of my tongue, but a documentary on Netflix that was okay about, I can't remember what it's called, like likes or social media or something. And it interviewed each of these people about the angst they had when they were a social media influencer. And I think when people get that, it's not because they're spending time on their devices or spending time, with blue light or something affecting them. Mm-hmm. It's that they're worrying about what other people think, or we're like judging their content or judging themselves for not posting enough, posting too much. I think the number one thing when it comes to that is to not keep score. right? And if people are keeping score in any way, shape, or form, you can only sustain that for so long without burning out, without getting stressed, without it becoming difficult. And that's easier said than done, but that's definitely the number one thing. Just if you can post, and if you can't, don't, and just keep moving forward. That's
what I say. Like, don't even look at the likes and the numbers, really. Like, I don't even look at something for like 2 weeks because I just don't. It doesn't matter to me, because I think, especially for like YouTube, like I keep saying this a lot, but I mean, the fact that you make a YouTube video and you publish it publicly, I think is a huge accomplishment, because not everyone's comfortable publishing it publicly. They may keep it on the side, but if you actually publish it live on the internet, I think that's a huge accomplishment. No matter what the video is, it doesn't matter what the video is, it's just the matter that you actually did it. I think it's huge, but I really do think so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, people may have different opinions on it, but I mean, if people in the audience make a video and they publish it live on YouTube, I think it's a massive feat, because you're basically saying, I made this, right? And if you can like not let people's opinions sway you, I think it can really work for you. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of weird that way, though.
I agree with that, because like I was upset the other day, like maybe last week, because I was trying to make a video and it was taking me forever because I couldn't get the way I wanted to or whatever, and I was just gonna like, maybe I won't post it. And then someone told me, like, when you post that, it's out there for the world and it's gonna be there forever. So long after you're dead, not hopefully I'll still be around for a while, but like long after you're dead, that video is still gonna be there. It's still you. And people could watch that 50 years from now. And so I was like, you know what? That's a good point. Let me put it out there anyway. So, yeah.
And you don't know when it will happen, so you might as well post it now if you can.
Yeah. But it's true. Like, really, you did make something. It's not.
Yeah. And one thing that I also know is that when I first started, I just keep posting. It's more, even if nobody's watching it, see it as a documentary of your life and your growth.
Yeah.
Right. Years to come, you're going to look back and see, well, this is when I first started making video.
It's huge.
And this is how far I've come, right? In terms of my editing process, even your looks and your aging, right?
Yeah.
You can tell. If you're putting out a video every week, you can track your growth, right? Physically as well as, your growth in terms of your skills.
Oh, I think
you say Denzel Washington.
I know, right? I always tell people, like, whenever you make something, even like if it's a video or a photo or like a blog post or whatever form of art it is, it should always be for you first. Like, unless, I mean, if it's you just making something, I think it should always be for you first. You shouldn't make something for someone else. I don't think that makes any sense. It's because you want to make it for you, and people like it, great. If they don't, oh well. But in the end, it's always been for you, right? And that's where the win comes in, I think, because doesn't matter what people say about whatever it is. Like, well, that was for me anyway. It doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. So that's kind of like my approach to things, be it photo or video or blog or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think the one thing. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think the one thing that's important too is that people, when it comes to analytics and data that these platforms give us, in some way it's like the dopamine hit, which that's the negative version that we don't want to chase. On the other hand, if your ambition is to grow your YouTube channel for a business or for something, again, back to blogs or podcasts, like when you have goals around sponsorships or different things, I think it's very appropriate to have goals and ambitions that you're mapping towards, in which case looking at the numbers is going to make sense. The important thing is that you take them as feedback as opposed to tying them to your self-worth. And if people can't separate those two, then that's when I remind them that that's going to be our next step. We're going to go there once we can separate them from self-worth. And I think it's just important to point that out, because you could use the numbers in a positive feedback way too. However, if you're always obsessing over feedback and why don't people like this, feedback always cancels to zero. Because if you ask enough people, you're going to get to the point where somebody doesn't like something you put. Like if you're asking everybody about the music and everybody about the color correction and everybody about the transitions, eventually you'll get to where everyone, at least someone, doesn't like it. So, you just got to keep rolling.
Yeah.
I think you basically just said what I was going to say, but to paraphrase, if it is for a business, if it is for business, then the numbers are going to matter to some degree. And also, there's a lot of YouTubers out there that give advice that, you need to make videos on what the people are searching for. So if all my videos are about, my cat, crapping outside the litter box, and that's, the 1 billionth thing down on the list of things that are being searched for, then I'm probably not going to be successful showing my cat crap as a business. But, if people are searching for, I don't know, how to walk your dog during COVID or something, you know what I mean? So
Sure.
It depends. So I agree in the sense that, you want to make the videos for yourself, but if you are making it for a business, then you do have to have goals in mind. So
of course. I mean, I think you get to the business side by starting with personal first. Like, you start making stuff for yourself, and you build your skills enough where you're able to sell your skills to a business. That's kind of my approach to it. Like, I don't know any business that's gonna hire someone to make a video that's never made a video before. It's like, well, what have you done? Well, here's my YouTube channel. What do you think? I like it. Okay, cool.
Cat crapping outside litter box would definitely do well on TikTok.
Cat
Once a day, every day at noon.
I would honestly subscribe to that.
Set up a GoPro in the cat box and just
live. Yeah.
Hey, I've done worse lives before that did well. So hey,
yeah, I think the more successful you get, like, the harder it gets, because even the more pressure's on you, right? Like the bigger you get, like, the more pressure's on you to perform, right? So, in a way, like, that's why, if you follow Roberto Blake, I think you do follow Blake on Twitter, Justin. But he said that you can it's better to build your business organically, slowly, versus very quickly, because, like, being an overnight success, you can be an overnight failure. So it's important to build it organically, like whatever you're trying to build, YouTube audience on Instagram, you need to build it organically and not kind of build it quickly, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I have a football background as a high school and college athlete, as a football player. And, even when you turn pro, those are short-lived careers, right? Like, even if you start when you're 12 years old, you're still only looking at around 10 years of that. What's so cool is in the creative fields, when it comes to business, is, God willing, we have the rest of our lives. So I think definitely building with patience is so valuable, because it gives you the opportunity to take care of your self-care first, but also to do the things that you intrinsically believe in. I think, to me, when I think of that stuff, there's one guy right now, Charlie Rocket. I don't know if you follow any of his stuff, but he's got his dream machine. He's driving around in his dream builder's RV right now, documenting, showing people how to chase their dreams. If you look back in his content less than 2 years ago, in the last 700 days, he's just blown up and became super successful. And he talks a lot about manifestation. And I'm not like you're big, like, oh, if you pray the secret, it'll just come, right? That's not how it works. However, the one big thing that I believe in when it comes to manifestation is that it's about enjoying what you're doing now. If you don't, there's no point in even mapping towards that ambition, right? So I think that comes into it too. And with the people who say you need to find the right keywords and hashtags and build your content specifically around that because it's going to blow up. If that's what you want to do, if you're only after the numbers, then great. But if you have the, creative right brain intrinsic piece to it, which I certainly do, then I can't go that route. I need to find the balance between what I want to do and what's going to work.
Interesting. The manifestation piece is all over social media, which, I don't know. You gotta still work for it, right?
Yep, that's a big part of it. I think the part that gets lost for people
when they come to you, because that's I think that's where a lot of people make mistakes. The doors are open, slam it shut, and then 2 years later, like, man, that I look at everything as an opportunity.
Everything's an opportunity, sure.
Not to get like too deep, but someone gets in a car accident, makes you late for an appointment, but then you know, after that appointment, you go and you meet somebody and they become a lifelong friend or something like that. Like, and that hadn't happened right in front of you, maybe it wouldn't happen, you know? So I say just leave your options open and you know, networking like this is awesome. You know, so
that's what I'm saying. Like I said at the start, like Justin and I met at Cody Warner's meetup like a month before lockdown. So I met Justin, I met Brian, who's on the live now, and Andre. So I mean, just goes to show you like the power of just meeting like-minded people, right? So you just never know who you're gonna meet. I think Justin mentioned to me earlier, it's like he wasn't even sure he was even going to come to the meetup that day, right? So you just don't know.
It's a 4-hour drive.
Yeah, because like this is in Ottawa. For those who don't know, Justin's Ottawa, so we drove to Toronto from Ottawa, you know, for one day basically. So
yeah, I mean, part of that was booking the podcast. So once I had, okay, I'll do the podcast recording because they only record in person. Plus, I'll go to Cody's meetup. Once those two things became, you know, I probably would have went anyways. But yeah, it was definitely a decision around like, do I want to drive 8 hours today to go to this? But it was definitely worth it. And had I known COVID was going to happen and shut everything down, then it would have been a no-brainer. So I was glad I was there.
Yeah, man. I think, yeah. I keep saying this, but I mean, especially in like photography and video, I think it's important to surround yourself with like like-minded people.
Yeah,
very important.
And I'm a big fan of networking and meeting new people. Like, you know, like even this show, it all came about from networking and meeting people.
Yeah. Evan just asked me randomly, "You want to do this show?"
It just comes up, right? So it's always important to put yourself out there. It's sometimes it's scary, right? It's scary to reach out to people, put yourself out there. But through Get Out and Shoot, especially, I've met a couple of great people that, you know, the last time we met at Brampton, I met a couple of Brampton guys, Brian, Andre. I went out. I learned how to do light painting with them. Right.
Yeah.
I hate it when photographers and creatives sometimes we feel like other creatives are competition. For me personally, I don't feel that way. I feel like everybody has a unique way of doing things, and meeting people in such environments creates unique opportunities to trade and share ideas and learn something new from each other. Basically.
Totally, man. You can always learn something from someone. Doesn't matter if they just started out or if they've been at it for 20 years. Like everyone has their own kind of perspective on things, so you just never know, really. Andre's also on the live, so hey, Brian, Andre, thanks for jumping on. Yeah, they're on, which is great.
Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up.
Yeah, give this video.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, see, Justin has it down. So, Justin, what do you like doing better? Do you like doing video? Do you like doing podcasts more? Do you like shooting photos more? Like, what do you like more in like the arts world?
I mean, so for me, and why I named my handle that, Just Tries, is that I fell into this boat for a little while of I couldn't figure out what I liked doing more or what I really wanted to pursue. And I think that part of why I was struggling with that so much was sort of like an existential piece of like, well, what am I supposed to be doing? And the culture that exists around niche, right? Because that's another thing. And what's been so fascinating for me in my podcast interviews, interviewing people, is that a lot of the successful ones don't have a niche. Now it depends, and we could talk about that for an entire hour itself. Yeah. However, I was really struggling with that piece, so that's why I wanted to show people, much like Tim Ferriss, that you can create and learn how to do these different things, because I love them all. If I do pick one, then it's filmmaking. I think and what's cool is that underlies all of them, right? We're on YouTube right now. What we're recording right now is a video. So that for me underlies all of it, but I love writing. Podcasts are really cool. I never thought that it would be as enjoyable as it has been. But I think there's something to be said about just straightforward conversation where you don't have to worry about, well, again, things like color or lighting. You can talk. So yeah, I like them all.
Have you thought of videoing podcasts or no?
So like what we're doing right now, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's interesting about that, and I'm really excited because what I essentially do is I choose a topic and I learn it for 200 hours, right? So as of next week, I'll be posting the first podcast and the first YouTube video in season 1, which is studying online business. That was a whole other pivot that came out of COVID.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So what I appreciate you asking about that is I was like, I'm stuck in my house. How do I create, exciting stuff when I'd like to be out shooting more? So far the content is exactly that. A little bit of face on like this, but taking the video from the podcast and implementing it into the YouTube video. So for most of them, I have video as well. Yeah. So it would go to YouTube, but the audio would go to the podcast platforms.
Right.
Okay.
So,
yeah. So the first season of your 200 hours was in video, right?
So this is back when I met Paul in was that February or March?
February.
In February, I was just starting this project, and back to our conversation around like niche and keywords and that kind of stuff. It took me about a year to feel confident in the concept and be ready to jump full speed. So I filmed at the Cody Warner meetup, and then I went behind the scenes with a director of film. He does films, and his whole like schooling background is in film, with a filmmaker in New York City. And then I was shooting day 1 of a 2-day shoot with somebody who does animation and storytelling for Nickelodeon. And so this whole first season was to be filmmaking, and I had 3 more scheduled, podcasts and videos. And then COVID happened. So 2 of those videos are half done. They canceled the movie. The one movie that I was doing behind the scenes on got canceled. So it was this fascinating thing. And to answer your question, Paul, I switched it to doing online business instead. And then I'm going to double back. It's almost like I'm sitting on content because I'm procrastinating, but it's not that. It's just that I'll do filmmaking now that I can get out and shoot again.
Yeah.
So it'll be online business. So I've been working on getting some content together with online business, interviewed some good podcasters, some people who basically in every topic, right? A Facebook person, an Instagram person, a blogger, a vlogger, like those kinds of things. And I'll launch that as like, how do you create online business? So that'll be season 1. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Where can people find your podcast? On the usual spots?
Yeah, it'll be everywhere. I signed up to Simplecast. One thing I've learned is that it's easy to sometimes, like StreamYard, this is a good example, good plug for StreamYard here, is that when companies get it right, it's worthwhile investing and keeping it simple, right? So through Simplecast, it'll just go to every mainstream podcasting platform. Yeah, and it'll be called Learned.
Learned?
Yeah.
That's going to be the name of the podcast? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Go subscribe
next
to
week.
Podcast. Next week? What day? Do you know what day? Or is it a surprise?
No, it's not so much a surprise, but when you first upload podcasts, you're kind of waiting on Apple and iTunes to come back with the approval.
The approval.
Aside from that, it'll just be next week. Yeah.
So we can't find it on the podcast.
Right. You can't find it yet. I'll share it to everywhere here and all of you guys when it's up, which is awesome. And so what's super cool, just to reiterate the concept, is that like I'll do photography, right, as mini docs. And what would be really neat is to come to a Get Out and Shoot meetup, for example, and do an episode, right? Or to come, for Brian, like coming and doing a little mini documentary on your process teaching drone or something like that. Like that'd be so cool. So those are the episodes. They're episodics that I am aiming to create, like 10 episode seasons, that kind of thing. So the photography one will be fun.
It's gonna be awesome, man. Lots of fun.
Or I'll go join a wedding.
Yeah. Exactly. Why not, right? Why not? I think the whole process is great because it really shows what's really involved. And you're just doing like 200 hours, right? Like what's the saying? You need at least 10,000 hours to become like an expert?
So, I mean, Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, he has a really good interview. It's not super recent. I want to say it's 2019, end of 2018, where he was really pressed about that, though. And he said that the number one thing, he's like, listen, everyone gets that 10,000 hours and starts spreading it around and said that's what you need. He said, yeah, I wrote that. I still believe that it's a really good, marker in terms of becoming a master in something. He said, but in all of his studies, he never took into account the efficiencies of learning. And he said, that's not really a fault. It's just like, that's not something I did. And I agree that if you are a more efficient learner, or you have the right coach, or you have the right process to learning, that you can learn way quicker. The reason he was pushed on it was people were saying, well, we have chess masters now learning things in like 2,000 hours. So how do you speak to that? Right. And I think that goes back to the point why I'm starting this. Is because I think two of the most important things when it comes to learning a skill like photography is, one, being willing to be vulnerable, right? Being willing to get out there and screw up a whole bunch of times as you're learning. And then having a growth mindset, appreciating that if you keep putting in the work as efficiently as possible, you're going to get better. And so I had so many students, because of the youth that I work with, they're either struggling with addictions, homelessness, teen parenting. I work in jails and hospitals. And so our guys, often that connects with creative passions. But they don't have people in their lives to support them to get out and learn those things and build a business around it, right? Makeup artists and YouTubers and people who paint, for example, and can go down the list of creative pursuits that these guys are so strong at. But one day I was like, what's missing? And I feel that modeling the process of it and how quick it can be is what was missing for them.
They need the right coaching or the right teacher.
I think just to see that it's possible. Right. And like, I've never sang before, but I'll be doing singing for 200 hours. It's going to suck.
200 hours.
You don't care if I unsubscribe to you during those 200 hours, do you?
And then come back
but
after?
get back there for the dance. Well, whatever. I like putting it out to the community and just saying, what should I do next? That's the point, right? And you can go from, wow, this painting sucks, or this poetry sounds like shit, to it's pretty darn good in 200 hours for sure. 200
hours. So from 200 hours to say 2,000 hours, like 10,000 hours, really, like, caveat is like teaching and how well you're able to learn something, I suppose, right?
Yeah, and somebody mentioned earlier surrounding yourself networking, right? I think it was Evans maybe that mentioned it. Well, and Brian as well. That's one of the biggest parts, is the proximity principle. How can you get around as many people, places, and things that are in line with that goal and that ambition and learning that skill? If you do that, another good example is teaching games for understanding. TGFU is a concept used in effective sports and schools, for example, when you're teaching athletics. Teaching teams. And the idea is that if you're coaching, let's say, volleyball, the first thing you should do is play a game of volleyball as effectively as possible. But traditionally, what did we do? We did serving, or we would do the bump or the pass, because we think that that's how we can build skills, right? But your brain doesn't anchor to the actual like thing, and it doesn't feel. So when it's kind of like shooting for the moon and landing among the stars too, right? Yeah. If you play the game, and then you bring your kids back the next day and you teach them how to serve, everything just goes so much quicker, because they're mapping to like, oh, okay, this all makes sense. It's all this part of the game kind of thing. And it's more contextual. So I think when it comes to learning something like photography, what do people do? They probably hide in their houses for a year trying to figure out how to twist the lens and get focused. If I go out with you Paul, the first day,
taking pictures of flower pots and stuff.
Yeah, which is super important in terms of practice. But if I go out and I get around like the world's best photographer and I just watch them work for an hour, I mean, the amount of stuff that I'll learn exponentially quicker is it's huge. Tim Ferriss stands by 6 months to be top 10% in the world in any skill, is his belief, within reason, obviously. Like, you can't choose to, be the best basketball player. But when it comes to like skills that we hold a lot of control over,
Yeah, I mean, I just did a beginner class over the weekend for the group for people that are starting out in photography, and I basically said, you're not going to become a master today, but you really have to enjoy the process, right? You have to enjoy kind of going with your camera. You have to enjoy kind of training your eye. You have to enjoy like the composition aspect. Like it's not so much on like the end result. It's more of like the process of you doing it, and over time you'll just get better at understanding like aperture and ISO and all that stuff. Because I think people like circling back to like the social media aspect, people just see a photo on Instagram. It's like, wow, that's amazing. It's amazing. How do I do that? And then they fail trying to make that photo because they don't have the practice. They don't have the skills yet, right? So there's like a disconnect between the end results and the skills. You need to just need to work at it, right?
There's been like a little bit of a conflict for me. It shouldn't be a conflict, but sometimes people message me and say, can you teach me how to make that photo like you just mentioned? Or they'll say, can I come to your place and you can show me how to edit photos just like you?
Yeah.
I do YouTube videos and I kind of show people that, but like I give them the advice. Do you know what I did? I practiced. And you know what else I did? I watched YouTube. Yeah. And I watch 2 hours of YouTube, then I go out and try 4 hours of what I just learned, and then I only got 10% of it right. So then I watch the video, and it's just repetition, and it takes work. So it's kind of like
exactly.
It doesn't offend me because I really enjoy helping people. It's one of the biggest reasons I stay in photography. But at the same time, like you have to be willing to put in the work. And I won't talk about presets. Like I have presets. I've bought presets. I might sell presets. I'm not saying that you can't just slap something on there, but is the photo any good just because you put Peter McKinnon's preset on it? No, not really. You have to work at it. And you're right. Like just like I wouldn't expect to go, watch a Blue Jays game and be like, yep, I got that. I can do that. It's no problem. All you got to do is twist your wrist. The curveball will just land perfect. I'll be good.
Yeah.
I'll take our show from last year when we did like the live editing thing, and then we did like the portrait stuff. I sucked at it, but like Evans and Meeks, they freaking killed it, right? So I mean, it's just a whole. I may be better at landscape editing. Evans and Meeks are better at portrait editing. Just like that's just the way it is, right? So. And
I thought it was super interesting to see 3 different people and hear because we did their thought process, right? To hear. Like Evan says, he goes down to the bottom and starts with the color correction. I don't go there first. No way, no, I'm going there first. So it's just very different. Is very cool. Yeah. Hopefully, people tried out some stuff.
And you want to learn your own style and your own workflow, no matter what. I mean, you take 5 experts and put them all in a room, and it's kind of what you just said. You're going to see different versions of what works for them, especially with like the powerful apps that we use when it comes to like Photoshop or Lightroom or Premiere Pro or After Effects. In my case, messing around with Audacity right now. There's so much flexibility in terms of how you can use it, almost equally effective, that different people are going to use it differently. And you wouldn't want to necessarily learn someone else's full process 100%, try and memorize it, because that you're going to develop your own abilities. But that, I think, goes back a really important thing about that. And I've had a couple people interested in graphic design and using Illustrator to do like logos and that kind of stuff. And I've supported them, and they can't figure out, they can't memorize how the different functionalities are. And what does this mean in terms of the pen tool and this different stuff? And they get frustrated and they give up. And I think that's when it's so important to know if it is like actually what you're interested in, because if you don't want to do that, then you don't have to do it. Right? Like the sunken cost piece, I think people struggle with that. They're like, well, I don't know. I've played guitar for 11 years. How could I give it up now? It's like, it's okay. It's
go.
Life. Like, go play drums now. Yeah.
It's okay to quit if you don't enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah. And that's same thing, like talking about instruments. I learned every instrument, never mastered any. I play the bass, I play the drums, I play the keyboard, but I never mastered any. But if I get to somewhere and people are playing, I know enough to play along with them, right? But that's not my thing. It's just something I learned along the way. That goes off to say is that there is always something new to be learned, and if you want to master something, hours and hours of training, hours of learning of self-taught, right? Classroom stuff. It doesn't matter. You don't necessarily these days have to go to the classroom to learn photography, right? There's groups everywhere, YouTube,
Everywhere.
Facebook, everywhere. Find people who are like-minded and want to shoot. Go out and learn from them, right? And that's the whole thing. Like, you are not stuck in the bubble like back in the days where it was really hard for you to go out. Now, social media has made it easy to network.
Yes, 100%. If you can find a group, start a group.
Yeah, start one. People will join.
Just start one, because you just never know who you're gonna meet, right? Like, yeah, it's good. It's good. I think I don't think enough people talk about the process behind how to get from a D+ to like an A+. I think that'd be a really cool YouTube channel.
Well, I mean, it's part of the struggle is the ego and pride that develops too, right? People, and you see that happen with really big YouTubers. It always, one thing I love seeing is, okay, let's go to Mr. Beast's channel. Let's flip back to 4 years ago when he had 0 subscribers, and let's see what his videos were. Okay. Oh shit, they're all gone. That's weird. Why are they all gone? Now, he didn't do that, right? Like, I think all of his old stuff is up there, which is really cool. You can see that whole progression. But so many other people will go back and delete all of their old stuff. It's a really interesting psychological thing. And one of the things we were just talking about in terms of trying different things out is makes me think of the quote that the jack of all trades is a master of none. But people don't realize that quote gets cut off. I don't know if you guys know that, but the full quote goes, though oftentimes better than master of one. And that's where I've found a lot of interesting things is that, people, you find pride and ego. Think of like a gym today, for example. If I go to work out, a lot of people are really shy and nervous around there because of like body image, for example, or fitness. Like, I used to do personal training, and so I'd help a lot of people with overcoming confidence and self-esteem. And because they look around the gym and they see all these muscle people, and I'm like, listen, in this gym, I'm like, there are no muscle people. Like, I played football with people who are 10 times stronger than anyone in this room right now, and they're not even like cocky or mean. Like, so it's like that social thing in small ponds kind of sometimes. You see it at golf too a lot, right? Like, people are super nervous all the time. I'm like, you're in Ottawa, Canada. There's no good golfer in this whole city. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh man.
When we talk about, like, you go down to Jupiter, Florida and hang out with people like to really find like the best, right? So I had a blog post about that a while back, and it was like, where do I rank? And I put like Taylor Swift and LeBron James, and I tried to pick like who's the best in the world at things. And I was like, I'm still somewhere in the upper 50% of everyone in the world in terms of basketball and singing.
Right.
Like, so who is your competition? There doesn't need to be that much competition.
Yeah, I think it also.
I think I'm going to put that in my bio that I'm in the top 50%.
You're probably in the top 5% of photographers in the world.
Yeah,
maybe even higher. I don't know.
Think about.
I've never done a study on it, but you know what I'm saying is, we get competing with people sometimes unnecessarily, and I think that comes into, to bring it back to that point, it comes into the pride piece around, like, everyone was there at some point. Some people just unfortunately forgot that they went through all the times that they sucked.
Everyone took a 0. Everyone. So I think it's also important to have a clear understanding of what you want to achieve from whatever it is that you're doing. Be it photography or video or blogging or podcast. Like, what is it you actually want to achieve, right? I think it's important to know what the end goal is, because like the goal differs for each person, right?
Yeah.
Some people want to make it a full-time career. Some want to make it like a side thing. Some, who knows? But I think it's hard to just make it like so like narrow-minded, because everyone's kind of on their own path and they want to achieve their own goals. So it's important for you to know what you want to do.
So in that line, Justin, I have a question. I know you hinted on it a little bit, but when it comes to, as YouTubers, we always talk about finding your niche and sticking within that. Personally, I don't think I have one. I like to do videography, and because I do both wedding videos and I do wedding photos. So if you go to my channel, I have a mix of stuff. I have video stuff, I have photography stuff, I have editing stuff. Sometimes, you know, we get caught up with that idea that I gotta stick with one thing. What do you think about that? Is that something that, because personally, I don't feel like I have to limit myself choosing between photos or video for my content, right? I want to be able to put out there whatever I want to based on the moment, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I feel very strongly that it depends, similar to what Paul was just saying, on what the goal is, right? And if you're okay with being patient, then just doing what you naturally like to put out there. And the more important thing becomes developing a community, like, you know, me and others as subscribers who appreciate what you share, regardless of what it is, and because you'll find that community and continue to build it. I think that can happen whether you might even pop a cooking show up there. So that is the stance that I definitely very much believe in. You know, the first episode for the podcast will be with Buster Shear, like I had mentioned, and he was like, well, you know, what is in the podcast? He says, what's The Rock's niche? And I was like, I don't know, football. He's like, no, it's wrestling. I was like, I don't know, movies. He's like, no, it's dancing. Like, it was like all these funny things. And he's like, it evolves over time, but you just do what you enjoy and you continue to be a good person. And we landed on the fact that his niche is kindness.
Kindness?
Like, maybe his niche is kindness. I can't think of anything else on the kind of like left brain logistical stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're trying to sell courses that teach photo editing, then maybe you could argue that having the majority of your free content be geared towards photo editing is important, especially if you want to make money in some kind of click funnel next week. But I'm very much of the mind that those who can hold their breath the longest when it comes to monetizing. And another thing he said in that episode where he was like, you know, why would you want to build a business now when you can just build your community and then sell out your merch every time you drop it? That was kind of his stance. And I was like, yeah, that's true. But I just think it depends on what people's ambitions are. Knowing what I know of you, it seems like it would be a mistake to leave things that you love to share unshared. That's the way that I've.
Yeah. Totally.
That's how I feel. I feel like, I mean, I'm free to share whatever I want. Like this week, I will posting drone lessons videos that I was taking from Brian this week, right? I feel like if I feel like going out, and by the way, my channel, I'm not looking to sell stuff off my channel and stuff like that. Basically, I started it off for fun to document stuff that I'm learning as I go, right? And it's grown, not too big, but it's still grown. Got monetized maybe.
So.
But I just want to be able to continue doing the same thing that I was doing before. I just want to share what I like to share, what I'm interested in, that people may like, right? Because it gets to the point where we are chasing after the monetization money and stuff like that, that we lose the essence of why we started the channel, and we no longer become organic, right? And we're doing stuff because we're doing it to chase after what's popular and what's the money. And for me, that's not my goal. I want to be able to be always be real with the people who are watching my content and not be influenced by, let's say, the sponsorships or by the gear that somebody will send me for the reviews.
Yeah, I think the cool thing, some people put strategies around that, like to make it a little easier and systematic. Like I know Sarah Dici does. Can't remember what the numbers she uses is, but I want to say she creates 3 videos for herself and 1 for the audience, 3 for herself and 1 for the audience, where she has that mindset of like, for this 75% of my time, I'm creating for me only, not worrying about anyone else. But then 25% of the time, I'm going to cater to the audience. That's one way of going about it too. Everyone's kind of got their style. I think for consistency's sake, it definitely helps to have that sort of running theme. And that's, again, why it took me so long in the planning phase, is that like I needed like, well, what is my running theme? And my running theme, now that I realized it, is learning. So it can become a whole bunch of different content so long as it's geared around learning. And I think when in the YouTube space, a camera becomes a pretty good character, right? So that's, in your case, all of those things involved a camera, and that becomes your running theme. But listen, like I'm someone with 70 YouTube subscribers. Like, you're not taking advice from someone with 70 million.
You know that the thing is that sometimes it doesn't matter the number of subscribers you have.
No,
right?
well, and this is exactly what I was going to say. Is that
Size doesn't matter, man.
It's easy to say that at this point in the game, like that I don't care about that. But then you look at someone like Mr. Beast, who just hit whatever he hit, 40 million, or a Gary V who has however many millions, and they also don't. But there's no niche. There's the farthest thing for niche. I mean, Mr. Beast is what, charitable? I guess that's the only niche he's ever had.
Yeah.
Maybe he's always giving.
He's always giving, yeah. It's a great question.
40 million subscribers, that's enough. You could work with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm like Evans. I just post whatever I want to post. Like, my grid is all over the place. It's not even funny, but to me, it's like, well, I like this photo, so I'm going to post it. So, I mean, other people are really very strict on their grid. The colors have to match and everything else has to match. And I don't know.
Yeah, because a couple of, maybe about a year or 6 months ago, I tried it. Because I mean, most of the time, like I said, I shoot a lot of weddings and stuff. So people were just saying, you got to post more of the wedding stuff, right? But I love to shoot portraits too. I love to shoot landscapes when we go out and we meet up. So I cleaned up my grid and I started posting a few weddings and portraits here and there. But I realized that's not my style. I just gave up and I just let it flow.
I think Justin hit it right on the head, is that your niche evolves over time, and it's your style, man. You just gotta do you, right? Like you said, you gotta do it for you first. I think
where people struggle is early to mid business growing too, because they're chasing money, right? Which is often just behind the idea of numbers. They think like, oh, well, I can convert if I do try and post a t-shirt, that let's say 3% are going to buy it. Well, then I need more followers. And so I think maybe that's what was cool and unexpected about hitting pretty high on my first few podcast guests. Was there people who are already building million plus multi-million dollar businesses off of their creative passions at very young ages. And so they were like, listen, like, it's cool, but it's the journey to here that's so much more fun anyways. And so I think people get lost in that because they worry that it's messing with being able to attain those goals and to get the money. And they worry too much about that. But once you get there anyways, it's not as big of a deal, and you don't want to look back and not have enjoyed the process, because everyone's going to get there anyways.
Definitely. I was like heartbroken when I had someone, a company, look at my website, and they're like, okay, so we see you have portraits and you have landscapes. So which are you, a portrait photographer or a landscape photographer? I'm like, well, I do both. And they're like, no, not if you want to make a business out of it. I said, yeah, but I could sell my prints, share my work, but at the same time, I do great portrait work. No. All the good portrait photographers only do portraits. So pick headshots, pick seniors, pick weddings, pick one, or we can't help you. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna thank you, and I'm just gonna
hire a new coach.
I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. Yeah.
Now, was that, you said website? Did you mean website, or was that Instagram?
No, my actual website. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's a fascinating thing, because if you went to someone like Russell Brunson or someone, they'd be like, well, you're not going to sell through your website anyways. Like, we're going to build you specific landing pages that go cater to audiences. And then the person who hires you for portraits probably won't even know you do landscapes.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
I have other landing pages for the landscape. Exactly. But no, it's hard. And then learning about, it's funny because you just want to be a photographer, but then you got to learn the business side of it if you want to be in business. And then you got to learn SEO. Like, again, so this company that I $200 for 10 minutes at a time, it seems, tells me, well, your SEO sucks, and now I'm like, as they're talking to me on the phone, I'm Googling like, how do I fix my SEO? We do it for you for $399 a month, and I'm like, perfect. Let me just check with my accountant. Click.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting
about
stuff.
SEO and wants to. I'll give you the password to my website. Please help. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying my best, but I don't know.
No, you know what's interesting about that is it's kind of like it is a little bit of like the MP3 player version of internet these days, right? Like, not to take away from SEO, obviously, when it comes to, well, especially YouTube search engine optimization and these things, it can be super helpful, and people who nail it build massive businesses just off of search. But like I know a really good Facebook ads guy, for example, and I've never seen him post results to Instagram and have anything but like, you know, photographer gave me this $200 and then they got 2,000. Like his ability to convert, and he only works on Facebook ads. Like I think there's just so many ways to skin the cat, as they say, that most traditional ways would involve website and SEO, right? Yeah.
Where did the saying there's a lot of ways to skin a cat come from?
I don't know. It's gross though.
People out there doing that? Like, is that a thing?
I don't know.
You gotta skin
Google
the cat.
Now bats, I understand. You know, those are delicious. But cats,
I don't know.
SEO, Brian, let's get on it.
I'm trying, man.
It's a beast, man. It's a beast. What can I say? The hour's up. You guys want to call? Or you still want to chat for a few more minutes? I don't know. What does the audience want?
I had one thing too that you made me think of when we got talking about the niche question. You had mentioned people knowing what their goals are, and I just said very quickly that they evolve and they change, and I think that's okay. One of the important things that I really like to teach is that the passion that you have could be a hobby, job, or career, and that those three things kind of exist almost like on one bar graph. And it could be like 1% career. You know what I mean? That person who does cash portraits every now and again, but it's really mostly hobby, but it could be part, you know what I mean? And those three terms, job being something that brings you money. That's it. It's the only requirement. Takes time, gives you money. Career being it's more of a long-term thing. And hobby being I do it because it's fun. And then what percentage of those do you lie in? But it always changes. Like if we put it on a 100-piece bar graph, it always evolves. But the important thing is that you are doing the passion, whatever that is. I like to see people doing it daily. If you love poetry, you should be writing every day. If you like photography, take that one photo if you can. Yeah, I mean, it goes quick. 365 days, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think you responded to my tweet the other day where I basically said, you know, people are saying don't make your passion your career because you're going to lose your passion. And I think you responded, Justin, saying, well, you need like a hybrid of that, right, between a passion and a career, which I kind of agree with. I mean, it makes sense, right?
It's too contextual. I think statements like that are interesting, right? And going back to the piece that you had asked about, like why I built a membership, I didn't have any, like Evans, like you were saying, I had no intention of building any internet business myself. But once I started studying it so much, I realized that it can be hard to actually support people for free all the time because there's no sort of gate, right? There's no commitment bubble. And so one of those reasons why I was struggling with it was like when it's free, it's comments or DMs, which are super enjoyable, but people are like, should I build a business in my passion? It's like, I don't know, call me. It becomes this thing where it's like, it's going to be different for everybody. And within one person, it's going to evolve. I don't know. It's like try telling LeBron James to not build a career over his passion. Doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I think there's a lot of talk about, take the example of photography, right? If it's your hobby, if it's your passion, but then you suddenly become a wedding photographer, for example, you may lose your passion for photography because it becomes such a business. It becomes such a, it almost becomes stress, right? It almost becomes stress. Like it becomes like a regular job and you lose the passion, right? So,
and I think for me, I get the evolving part. I think it's true. For me, I think the reason why maybe I'm a little more chilled and not looking at it that way is mostly because I have I have my career, right, that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I do the photography stuff on the side, But even that, I can see it evolved. It has evolved because when I started off doing photography, it was a hobby, right?
Yeah.
I would do people's stuff for free. Then it got to the point now I charge
I
to do
charge.
weddings and portraits. Right?
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe someday down the line, it may become my full-time thing that I would want to do. But at this point, for me, I haven't gotten to that point yet where I wouldn't commit to going that way full time. But I still believe in learning and continuing to improve on that scale.
Yeah. It's also, again, it's so contextual. I have a friend who's a pretty popular photographer around here, but he just moved to Montreal. He has a career, but over time, it's like having your side hustle thing. And then over time, you can build it to be more and more of your main thing, and your career becomes your side hustle. And then eventually it fades. I can kind of see him over the last few years by watching his Instagram, it evolve into that. But he used to shoot a lot of weddings. He used to shoot a lot of personal brand portraits, which I'm sure he still does a little bit of both. But his prints are starting to do well, and his content being on postcards is starting to do well. And so, I think when you take out the person critiquing your work and you have an online shop where people buy your photos like they're paintings, like that becomes a fairly passive thing. It's low stress. Some people might say that taking your passion of photography and then having brides call you because they hate the photos as a stressful thing that ruins your passion for photography is so different. There's so many avenues within a passion.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's true.
But it comes back down to that one individual person. I feel really strongly about that.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. I think it's fascinating because we're all we're all different, right? We all have different goals, so I think it's a great piece, really. Do you want to drop your Thursday night live chats on Instagram that you do for people that may want to tune in tomorrow night?
Yeah, that's fine. Does that mean I need to commit to them forever?
Not forever.
Just kidding. On Thursday nights, and Paul's been a guest, and it's fun. On Thursday nights on Instagram, we do a live video interview just like this, one-on-one, just Q&A. But the whole purpose behind it is showing people that you can have organic, spur-of-the-moment conversations with those. I don't research at all. It's not like the podcast or YouTube videos where I do a lot of behind-the-scenes work. This is like, ideally, I've never met the person or done any research, and we just roll with it and talk about goal setting and learning. And it's turned out really good. I mean, last week's episode, for IGTV to have like a few hundred views, I did it thinking like 2 people might watch. It was cool because he was someone who joined TikTok like a year ago, committed to it, and his goal was body image and positivity. And he's got over I think he's got like 600,000 subscribers now or something. And built a pretty interesting little community of people who love what he's putting out there. So it's just about doing those conversations. So we do those Thursday nights. But honestly, I think when it comes to networking and supporting people outside of and after this, whatever platform you're native to, I like to just create content for that. And Paul, you mentioned the idea of whether you commit full time to things or not. That's one other thing too that I thought of was for me, when it comes to growing YouTube, when I move forward, is that's why I've been like saving little bits of money every paycheck, because I want to take a substantial amount of time to not monetize anything and to get out and create full time though. Right. Like for at least 6 months to a year. And just not having to mix that, right? Like, hey, do you want to get out and collaborate on this video? And then people having that thought of like, well, what's in it for me versus what's in it for you, and that kind of like thing. It's like, no, we're just doing it because it's art.
It's art, man. We're doing it because we want to do it. Yeah. So people in the audience, you guys should definitely tune in tomorrow night because Justin will be on. What time is it on? 8? 9?
Yeah, we do 8 Eastern because it gives me the opportunity to make sure the kids are down.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And if you're not following Justin on IG, his IG handle's in his StreamYard handle. He has fascinating chats like we are right now. We should probably have like a second chat with you, Justin, because I think there's a lot more to talk about. But say that for another time, maybe.
Well, and that's the funny thing about, Thursdays are prescriptive. I try and do every Thursday to give some consistency, but back to the idea of not having to pin yourself down to the stress of schedules and systems with social media is like, sometimes I just pop up on a Monday afternoon, and sometimes those end up being the best conversations.
You do like a flash, or you do like a flash live.
Be here every Wednesday, all right?
Every Wednesday. Evans is the boss, and he has mandated Wednesday at 7:30. So.
I think it's good, like I said, to have that. But if Friday morning you guys are like all having coffee and texting each other, like, you know what? Let's just pop on there.
Yeah, we've done that before. There were times where Meek was online at 2 a.m. and I joined him.
Yeah.
And then the other time when I was having the early morning live stream, I joined in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, why not?
And I think we've done a show on a Thursday before.
I think we have, maybe the first one. Oh no, because we had to move over something else, Brian or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Brian has gone live on YouTube and went viral. So,
Was that the litter box?
Streaming the CN Tower.
I live right next to the CN Tower, and so it was Canada Day. So Evans said, "Why don't you stream it?" I said, "I don't know how to do that. I don't have." And he goes, "Use StreamYard," which I downloaded as we were talking. I gorilla potted my phone to my balcony and just hit play, and then I think I went to get something.
How many views?
Paul messages me, says, 4,000 people watching right now, right?
Was it this year or last year?
This
was
year.
this year? What, like a month ago? 2 months
That's
ago?
awesome.
There was about 4,000 views at one point.
Yeah.
You almost got monetized off one night. So.
And I didn't know. I thought I had muted it. And I was coughing. I had like allergies. And I was coughing through like the first 20 minutes. And people kept writing like, cough, why are you coughing? And I was thinking like, who's coughing? You know what I mean? And then I realized that the little microphone wasn't crossed out. And I'm just like, I was so embarrassed. But hey, some people stuck around for 2 hours. So
2 hours, 2 and not 2 hours.
Like I told Paul, like, and other people suggested, why don't you do that all the time? And yeah, I can do that once in a while because of where I live. But like, I don't want to be the
CN Tower guy.
CN Tower guy.
Well, just only do that to Twitch.
Yeah.
To Twitch.
I don't even know what Twitch is.
At least, well, in StreamYard, you can just hit Twitch.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about what it is.
We'll show you after we teach you SEO. Or something like that. But yeah, it went viral. It was pretty crazy. You just never know.
Cool.
You just never know sometimes whenever you pop on live. You just never know who's watching.
I was so excited watching that video. I was just in the comments spamming people. Subscribe and comment. Subscribe.
Yeah. Because people just wanted to see their comments on the screen, right? So they were just sticking around. And
yeah.
But anyway.
It was cool.
And if they're not from Canada, they want to see what Canada Day looks like.
Yeah.
That was the other. I mean, just real quickly, like, I thought that was really amazing because I'm not Canadian, but I live in Canada. But there was people like from Argentina and China and Saudi Arabia, and they were all just writing in Happy Canada.
I think there was someone from Hong Kong.
My uncle lives there. Happy Canada Day, Uncle Bob. I'm sure Uncle Bob's not watching it. You know what I mean? I thought that was really neat that people from all around the world came together.
Crazy, man.
I guess if I was in Washington doing July 4th, we probably wouldn't get that much response because people hate Americans. But
July 1st, what's that? 11 months away. We're going to stream next year split screen Toronto and Ottawa.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
Buildings in the CN Tower.
Yeah.
We're going to beat you. It's going to be more exciting with the fireworks.
I don't know. Probably not.
Mr. Trudeau to watch from my balcony.
Yeah. We're all going to come to Ottawa. And we'll do like a live together. How about that?
That'd be fun.
Why don't we all fly different locations if you want?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, let's do like Vancouver, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Calgary. I don't know. Do you have any other big cities?
Let's plan it. That'll be great though.
On Canada Day or in general?
Oh, you can go to Newfoundland.
Thank you. I always wanted to go there.
I would. I've been there.
See?
I've been there. That's probably the most place I've been in Canada. For what? Though? I've been to St. John's. I've been to DLA, Connybrook, Halifax.
I haven't been there at times.
Been around in Newfoundland a lot.
I haven't been there at times. So yes, I will go. If someone will send me, if StreamYard will sponsor the airplane, fair, I will go.
Yeah, I'm pretty much down to go anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
As long as someone's paying for it, because I don't have the money right now.
Yeah.
After COVID.
After, well, sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Alex wants to go to Nick can go out to Halifax. Cool, guys. It's 8:45, so most people want to leave us. Big thanks to Justin for coming on. And again, if you're not subscribed to his IG and his YouTube, Just Tries, go check him out. He is live tomorrow on Instagram. So final thoughts, guys, real quick, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Doing these things can be simple if you let it be. And I think people overcomplicate it, right? It doesn't need to be too big of a deal, especially if you go live. You don't have to edit and stuff. It's always nice. I just appreciate you helping to spread the message that people should just enjoy the process of learning, because to me, that's what life's all about. So thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. And I think we might do this again at some point, because I think there's a lot more to talk about. I think we're just really scratching the surface. So it was fun. Yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Ryan Evans, final thoughts?
Thank you, Justin, for joining us today. It was fun talking to you. Hopefully we get to see you on here again. And thank you guys in the comments and the chats and viewers who are watching us. Like I always say at the end of every show, we are a community. We all grow together and we learn together. So when we are up here talking, it's not because we know too much, but because we like to share what we know. That's the key.
That's it, man. Sharing is caring. Right, Brian?
Just yeah. Thanks to all of you guys for being here. I had a good time. It was very informative.
Yeah. I don't know.
Let's get out there and create something.
Yeah. Cool, guys. Well, thanks everyone for coming on. I don't know, Meeks might be up next week, so if he's out of the ceiling by then, hopefully he'll be back. But that's a long story that we won't discuss. I don't know if he's on this, but anyway. Thanks everyone for jumping on.
Meeks was in the comments a while back.
Anyway, we won't get into it. And thanks everyone. Have a good evening. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Good night.